All right, well, hello and welcome everybody. I see we have a few people that have joined us for this Bachelor of Journalism program webinar from the University of King's College in Halifax. And I suppose I should do a couple of introductions tonight. I'm Fred Valence Jones, and I'm the Director of Journalism Programs at King's. With me tonight are a few folks, some of whom you'll get to know pretty well. Tara Wigglesworth Hines is our coordinator of admissions and entrance awards. Professor Trina Roach is our undergraduate coordinator. And we have also a current student in the program with us, and that's Indra Egan, and she'll be chatting a little bit later about what it's actually like to be part of the BJ program. Yolana Wassersug, who's our recruitment and admissions manager, is also here, but she's lurking in the background, just sort of running the show in terms of what you see on your screen. And so you won't hear from Yolana, but she's very much with us here tonight. And I should let you know that after the session is over, Yolana will be sending you an email with links and other information, including a recording of this session tonight. So if you want to watch it again, I'm sure it'll be riveting entertainment for you and your family and your friends. So you can play it as many times as you like. So you see, we have a sense of humor at King's as well. So again, welcome everybody to this webinar tonight. And you can see the picture that has appeared just in front of you. That is our beautiful Arts and Administration building at King's, and it's an absolutely stunning photograph, of course. And King's is located in the south end of Halifax, a few minutes from downtown. And the journalism programs are up on the third floor. If you look at the portico there at the top of those columns, you can see a line of windows. So that is the main part of the journalism school at King's. And of course, you can see our parking lot in front. And around us, if you were to look right, imagine looking behind me, that's where our library is. And the rest of what we call the quad has a number of residences as well. So yeah, we're a nice tight-knit community here at King's, and people coming here will feel at home really quickly. But we're also surrounded here, and in this case, surrounded is a really good thing because we're surrounded by Dalhousie University, which is one of Canada's largest universities, what they call a U15 research university. So you have everything you could imagine wanting. And so the library, for example, at Dalhousie, there are services such as our International Center for students who are visiting with us from abroad, as well as various other student services that are, and the recreation complex called the Dalplex, which you get a membership in as a King's student. So, and in the distance in this picture, you can see the Northwest Arm, which is a part of Halifax Harbor. And Halifax, of course, is located right on the Atlantic Ocean, and many of you probably know that. And so if you were to look to the left of that photograph, it wouldn't take you very long to get out to the rest of Halifax Harbor and the open ocean. And there's a park nearby called uh, Point Pleasant Park. You can go for a beautiful walk and with the waves sort of lapping right up at your feet. Now, if you get a little bit further away from the campus, you'll be out into the rest of the Halifax community. And if you look at our next slide, you can see here that our students get out into the community. So you're learning how to be a journalist and journalistic skills, which you can apply in, of course, a wide variety of fields. And you can see one picture here. This is downtown Halifax to the right. And sort of in the evenings, it's taken over by people. and it's a very, very lively downtown. So if you're, once you've done your work, there's lots of things to do after hours. And during the day, as I say, you'll be out finding news stories, whether they're video stories or audio stories or written stories right in Halifax, which then becomes kind of your learning lab, the whole city. And there's probably nobody in Halifax who hasn't at some point been interviewed by a King's journalism student. So certainly everybody that, the usual newsmakers all know all about our students, and of course about the Signal, which we're going to talk about a bit later, which is our student run news outlet that's run by the King's journalism program. So that's kind of the overview of King's and Dalhousie, our sister university, and the rest of downtown. I know one person who absolutely appreciates our lovely city is Trina Roach, who is our undergraduate coordinator. And so Trina is the person you talk to if you're wanting some program advice, for example. And is also an accomplished video documentary maker and journalist, and has been with us for a few years now. So I'm going to pass things over to Trina to talk a little bit about the Bachelor of Journalism program.
Thanks, Fred. Hey everyone. Yeah, I'm teaching at King's and was a professor and the undergraduate student coordinator. But I also graduated from King's myself and did the 1-year Bachelor of Journalism program. So if you're interested in this, I can speak both as someone who teaches in the program, but also just from personal experience. And of course, we have Indra, who can give you that experience now because I did it a few years ago. But the first thing we do, with the 1 year, you really are you have a degree from somewhere else. So you already have sort of that critical thinking skills, like our students in our 4-year Bachelor of Honors program are doing journalism plus other courses, but you've done a degree or you're doing it now and you're about to finish. And so you already have maybe a sociology background, legal law background, whatever degree it is, a diversity in terms of academic background is actually really helpful in journalism. And the 1-year program is a very intensive just journalism from the beginning, which we call boot camp, and through a series of workshops, which I'll talk about in a bit. Boot camp starts, it's this 8-week introduction, really just sort of getting you up to speed on all the fundamentals of reporting, from the research to the writing, audio, video, for multiple platforms, reporting, you start doing stories, and of course, ethics, and a sense of legal issues as they pertain to journalism. And so it's a very intensive 8 weeks. We call it boot camp for a reason, but it's a lot of fun. You just kind of get thrown into the deep end, and you really learn by doing. So the 1-year program, it's the research and writing, but also sort of a lot of technical skills that you learn. Recording good audio and start sort of an introduction to capturing video, and giving you a good basis and kind of all the sort of fundamentals that you'll need as we head into the workshops. And the workshops are, there's 3 of them, and there's a mandatory one, which is the news workshop. So you're reporting for the Signal, which is our student journalism sort of lands on the Signal. When you are a student journalist, you are a journalist. And so what you're producing, maybe not necessarily in boot camp where you're learning the fundamentals, but once you're in the workshops, what you're doing is going out to the public. And so the bar is kind of high, but man, it's really fun. And so the workshops are small. They're very focused. So you can do the news workshop, which you're publishing on the Signal. You're part of a working newsroom, essentially. You have story meetings in the morning. You have story ideas. And you're out there, like Fred said, on the streets of Halifax, finding stories, doing interviews, and putting that together to publish stories, maybe with photograph or video or other elements for the Signal Halifax. But then there's other workshops. So you have 3 workshops. There's one that sort of follows boot camp in the fall, and then you have your Christmas break, and then you have 2 more workshops in the winter, and you get a choice. Some of the options you can see here, audio, which used to be called radio. Now it's podcasting, but audio, video, creative nonfiction, and then advanced audio. So typically, the first audio might be more, news stories that you might hear on the radio. Advanced audio is more putting together like a podcast series. So it's just kind of leveling up. And advanced video, you make a documentary, and that's one of the courses that I teach at King's. I worked at APTN doing documentaries, and so I bring some of that experience to that workshop and sort of guide students through making a short documentary that you can take to a film festival. Or do whatever you want. It's yours. You own it, and you get to find a home for it when you graduate. And so the workshops are 6 weeks. They're like a Monday to Friday. They're in part sort of lecture and training, but they're also just you working independently to go find a story, gather the interviews and everything you need for that story, and then put it together collaboratively as part of a team. And so, like the video workshop, the not the advanced video, which is the documentary, but the one before that, they put together a weekly show, a weekly video show that goes live on YouTube. If the podcasts get put together in the audio workshops, everything goes out to the public, and some of the work is just stellar. The good thing about the workshops is really it's like working a job for those 6 weeks. And at the end of that, you end up with a portfolio. It's a really, really practical degree. You end up with a portfolio that you can take with you. And I'll talk about the internship in a second, but you take with you, you start to make those connections in the to the industry in the internship, but you have a portfolio and you have these skills. And you're ready to roll out and start working. When I finished, I did radio all the way through. It was called radio back then. And I went right to CBC radio for an internship. And then that turned into summer casual employment. And then it turned into more full-time employment before I moved over to APTN. And so it's really about getting your foot in the door. But it was a very practical degree that gave me experience that I needed to actually go out into the world and feel like I was able to work as a journalist. And then the internships are sort of the last. So you have these 3 workshops following boot camp, and then there's a 1 month internship that happens in April. You graduate in May. So this is following, it's a very fast-paced course or a fast-paced year. So you do the final workshop and then you do an internship. CBC, it could be like the sort of standard newsrooms that you can think of, but also publishing companies, podcast production companies. There's a lot of flexibility. And we have someone like one of the faculty members who works with students to help find placements. And so some of these, sometimes they're paid, sometimes they're unpaid, but it's 4 weeks. And it really is a way to get to know people who are going to be hiring and get that real experience in a newsroom. And it's a lot of fun. And like I said, for me, it sort of led to summer employment. So those internships are a really, really important way. And I find even during the workshops, we try to bring in industry professionals to make those connections for students and a lot of our faculty. We're teaching, but we still have experience and connections ourselves in terms of where we have worked throughout our careers that we sort of bring into the workshop. As well as bringing in guests. So yeah, the internships are great, and then you finish that, and then you graduate, and then you're ready to work. The signal, I think when we're sort of done presenting, Yolana can sort of drop the link into the chat. It's a little challenging while we're in presentation mode, but there's really amazing work. I really encourage you to look through the Signal site. The work that gets published, a lot, it wins awards. I think we just won an award for the Canadian Online Publishing for the podcasting. I teach another course actually it's not in the 1 year, but the Reporting in Mi'kma'ki course, which has won awards. So our students are doing work that is like at a top level and winning these awards. But also just, we had students covering the election, and I think we were like trending in the Google search for the election. People are consuming, the public is consuming the news that lands on the signal, because just there on the web, and people search it up and find it, and they're photojournalism and video and audio. So I really encourage you just to have a look and see the kinds of work that the students are doing that's creative and relevant and timely and really great work. I think, was there anything else that I was supposed to talk about? I think
Oh,
that
I think that's good. Yeah. So thank you very much, Trina Roach. And it's always really great to hear from a prof. But, I was looking for a university back in the day, and I'd say that was a few days ago. I wanted to know what the student was experience was like. And so we have Indra Egan with us, and she's one of our current BJ students. And I was just watching Indra yesterday, sort of very excitedly talking to the editor of the news workshop what a story she was working on. So I'm going to pass things over to Indra.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm sorry, haven't spoken since this started. Hi, I'm Indra. I am originally from BC, from Western Canada, and moved to Halifax for this program. A year ago, I was working as a pianist at a big opera company in Canada here, and had no idea that I would be here. But I am so glad that I am. Basically, I was kind of getting frustrated with some systemic issues in the music industry, and then I saw an article come out that created some real change, and I was really impressed. And I thought, oh, this is really cool. Journalism has the power to like raise people's voices and to make change, and I would love to be part of that, and I would love to learn these skills. And so I looked around for programs, and this was a unique program and an esteemed program. And so I thought, okay, let's learn about it. And I called Fred, and I recommend you all call Fred if you have questions, or honestly, even if you don't, because it was a lovely conversation. And I went in being like, oh, maybe I'll go to King's, and then I hung up the phone. I was like, I want to go to King's, so he'll be happy to answer your questions. And yeah, so I came here. Uh, Boot camp is very intense. It is definitely very intense, but it's very worth it. I came in with a bachelor's and a master's of music, and so zero journalism or journalism adjacent background. And even though it was a lot of hard work, I never felt like I was out of my depth, I learned so many skills. I can't believe actually how much I learned in 2 months when I look back, because I was starting from nothing really. But yeah, I learned all kinds of things about research, video and audio, and my writing improved, and just learned so many things about what's important about journalism. Have had already so many cool experiences. I'm in month 5. I mean, it's January now. Like there's no feeling like when you get your first press pass, your first media pass, which happens in the news workshop, gets you into press conferences and stuff. It's very cool. Or you can just hang it on your wall and feel cool. Um, and yeah, so I got to do stuff like that. The editors really supportive, all the profs really supportive, wonderful faculty. That's one thing I really love about King's is I mean, some often small universities are like this, but not always. And definitely here at King's, the profs, they know your names, they care about you and your success, open doors, you can talk to them. It's fantastic. I moved here, I didn't know anybody in Halifax. Moved across the country and made friends quickly within my program because it's a small program, and you bond when you're doing something as intense as the boot camp. And because I felt supported by the teachers here. Halifax, as Fred said, also a really nice place to live. I've really enjoyed it. Being by the near the water. I mean, I'm from the West Coast, so I have to cheer for the West Coast, but this coast also nice. And yeah, it's really friendly. You know, you say thank you to the bus driver when you get off the bus, and it's a nice balance of being chill during the daytime. But if you want to go out and party, there are places to do that and fun ones that I don't go to very often, but they're there and I have gone. So yeah, all that to say, I think I've gone on a little longer than than I had meant to, but my experience at the Kings has been great so far. I'm currently working on figuring out what internship I'm going to do, and I just wanted to bring that up because I think that's one of the wonderful things about this program is that we do end with the internship, that we do have a practicum, not just a practicum of doing something similar to the job, but you get to use your name as a King's student to go into a real newsroom or publishing house and like how lucky are you to do that? And then that's how you, first of all, you can figure out if you really want to do that. And journalism is a very versatile degree, so either way, great. And yeah, to get that real world experience and make those connections, that's a wonderful perk of going to King's as well. So go to King's is my message, I guess. And yeah, I'm very excited to be here.
All right. And thank you very much, Indra. You probably came farther than anybody else this year, at least within North America, to take our program. Although we have students come from all over the world to take the BJ and its sister program, the Master of Journalism. So thanks very much. And so I think what we're going to do now is we're going to turn things over to Tara Wigglesworth Hines, who will become your best friend, if you are considering applying and going through the whole process, because Tara is absolutely the expert on everything you need to know to get into the program and also about opportunities for financial aid. So I'm going to turn things over to Tara.
Thanks, Fred. Thanks, Trina and Indra. Indra, it's nice to put a face to your name officially. Hi, everyone. My name's Tara, and I'm the coordinator of admissions and entrance scholarships. So as Fred said, I will be one, if not your main point of contact, if you decide to apply to King's or if you have already started the application process. So I look forward to chatting with you over the next coming months if you decide to take the chance on us and apply to this amazing program. And yeah, I'm going to get Yoli. So my information is not as exciting as what Indra just spoke about, but it's important information and important information for you to have in advance of applying. So as you've heard, our one-year advanced Bachelor of Journalism program requires an undergraduate degree when you apply. You can't do this program out of high school. You do have to have a 3-year or a 4-year undergraduate degree in any other discipline other than journalism. And when we're calculating an admission average, I think this part is helpful to give you an idea of what we're looking at. We're usually not looking at your entire university degree. We're usually looking at the last 60 credit hours of study. So it's usually half your degree if you're doing a 4-year program. Just to give you an idea, and we are looking at about a 3.0 average, so basically a B average to meet the minimum entrance requirements. It is important to note that meeting the minimum entrance requirements does not guarantee admission. That's just the minimum we're looking at because it is a limited enrollment program. If you are applying from a country where English is not your first language, you may be required to provide an English language proficiency test. And normally we require this test for those applicants who haven't studied in an English language institution in a country where English is a primary language. So we look at every applicant on an individual basis, and sometimes we don't require the extra English language proficiency, and sometimes we do. So we would make that determination kind of at the first initial part of the assessment process. In addition to GPA and academics, the committee, when your file goes to committee, we do look at the other things that are part of your application. It could be the published articles you submit in your portfolio. It could be your extracurricular activities, your interest in journalism. But I do want to highlight that this one-year program doesn't require experience in journalism. I think that's important to note. If you don't have experience in journalism, that's okay. Most don't. As Indra mentioned, she came into the program with a very different background, which we value just as much. So yeah, I'll get Yolanda to change a slide. So we have this amazing application now. It's the second year we've had this application where most of your information can be uploaded to your application portal. But typically when we're assessing an application, we're obviously looking for an official application to the BJ program. It will cost you $70 to apply to the program. We will require official transcripts sent from your post-secondary institutions. So that is actually the only document you can't upload yourself. In order for it to be official, we have to have it come from the institution itself. We require a personal statement, and normally that personal statement asks you about your academic strengths and weaknesses, your general interests, if you have any experience in journalism. It should be a well-rounded story about you and maybe what you're looking to do after graduation. That is something you can type right into your application itself. And we require one reference letter when you apply to this program. If you have graduated less than 3 years ago, we will require an academic reference from an professor at your current institution or the institution you just left. If it's been more than 3 years, we will accept a relevant professional reference or an academic reference. So keep that in mind, that information is in our application and is quite clear. And the two optional pieces we require for this program is a portfolio of work and a resume. So we make these optional because we do understand that many who apply to this program may not have a portfolio of journalism work or jobs that are relevant to the field. So we make those pieces optional. So we have some deadlines coming up. Some of them are actually sooner than, it's hard to believe it's the 9th of January. So we do have an early admissions deadline. So as mentioned, we do have limited enrollment in this program. So we have an early admissions deadline coming up on February 15th. So if you're interested in applying to the program and getting a decision sooner rather than later, we do have rolling admissions. So we don't wait until our deadline date. We actually do assess applications in batches throughout the year. So as we get a group of completed applications in our office, we as a committee will sit and evaluate those applications in batches every couple of weeks. February 15th is also our scholarship deadline. So we have a number of scholarships available for applicants to this program. And Yolanda will put this link up at the end in the chat. So if you're interested in applying for any of the scholarships that are on our website, we really want you to get your application in by February 15th. You can identify on your admission application what scholarships you want to be considered for. And as well as there's a place to type your little statement on why you think you'd be a good candidate for the scholarship and hit on any points where you think you might meet the criteria. So that's all part of the admission application itself. We do have a final deadline for international students on April 1st. So if you don't apply by the early deadline of February 15th, international students can apply up to April 1st. That is still quite early compared to our domestic deadline, but the reason for that is we understand the work that will be required for our international applicants if admitted on going through the study permit process and how long that will take. So we do have an earlier deadline, taking that into consideration. And then we have a final deadline for domestic students of June 1st. And we usually kind of an asterisk by that, because if we do have spots available after June 1st, we will accept applications from domestic students after that date, up to a certain point, usually about mid-July, if there's room in the program. So scholarships and bursaries, I hit on it a little bit about what's on the application itself. If you have any questions about scholarships itself, you can contact me directly, or you can contact Kathy, who kind of oversees our larger scholarship and bursary program, and her contact is awards@ukings.ca. Scholarships are typically based on your academic background, but sometimes a combination of academics and financial need, where bursaries are solely based on financial need. So as I mentioned, the scholarship application is in the admission application itself. Bursaries is a separate form, and that's available on our website as well. And it requires separate information in addition to what you've already provided on your admission application. And you can hold an entrance scholarship and a bursary at the same time. You can stack them if you receive both. We also, and I don't know if Trina, if you want to talk any more about this, but we also have a wonderful Mi'kmaq journalism initiative tuition waiver available for Mi'kmaq applicants. So this is a new program. We're in second or third year, Trina.
I would say maybe we had a soft first year. This was
Yeah, I think
probably
so
a real
too.
second year. Yeah.
Yeah. So we offer 3 waivers every single year, and it's 3 waivers combining our 4-year Bachelor of Journalism honors program, this 1-year Bachelor of Journalism program, and our Master of Journalism program. So we have 3 to offer between the 3 programs each year. The application for this tuition waiver does require some additional information from our applicants. So when you're applying if you think you qualify for this initiative and you'd like to be considered, on your admission application itself, there will be a question on your application after you check your program, if you're interested in this initiative. And it will provide some links, and it will provide some guidance on what other documents you would have to submit to be considered for this program. We do make a decision on your program admission application first. So we make a decision on the journalism program first. And then as a committee, we assess your request for the tuition waiver, because we only have 3 of those. So we collect all those applications for those who showed interest in that waiver and make a decision as a committee with all the information in front of us at one time. Trina, do you have anything else to add?
I'll just add that the tuition waivers are for Mi'kmaq students who are interested in journalism, but King's has really done a lot of work to engage and support the Indigenous community more broadly. And so we have an Indigenous Student Center and an Indigenous Student Support Coordinator. And so there's other little pieces of that are there for all Indigenous students as well. And we share services with Dalhousie. So there's like student supports for all students. But also for Indigenous students and Black students, or African Nova Scotian students, also at Dal. And so there are a lot of supports, but also it's just fun. We do stuff and we do activities, and people just hang out in the Indigenous Student Center. We call it our Maui-o-Miogwam, our gathering space. So yeah, so it's a lot of fun. So we're really trying to make sure that diverse voices are represented in journalism, because that's it's really important.
Thanks, Trina.
All
And I
right.
guess that's it for me.
All right. Thanks, Tara, Trina. And so this is the moment where you guys get to be the stars with your questions. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a primer on the asking questions. There's a feature called Q&A, which you should be able to find either at the openly in the menu bar at the bottom of your Zoom page, or if you don't see it, there should be a more menu button with 3 dots and a circle. And if you click on that, you will find the Q&A. And this just allows us to keep track of the questions, and I will read them out. So we have a question actually that one of our participants has typed into the chat, and they're an MBA student at York University in Toronto, also a permanent resident of Canada. And so I guess the question is, do they need the language test? That sounds like a Tara question to me.
Yeah, great question, because I didn't really hit on that part with regards to English language proficiency. So if English is not your first language, but you attended a post-secondary institution, well, I guess my question is, it depends on the country you're from, but normally, we waive an English language test if you've attended a post-secondary institution for more than 1 year. India, no, we do not need an English language test from you. That makes my answer easier. Yes, so you're good. No English language test, because we do not need an English language test from applicants from India. Plus, you also have your degree from York, so you're good.
Now, one thing that we do offer to international students, whether they need the language test or not, is an online course which we inaugurated this year. And it's open to everybody, actually, but international students may find it most useful because the course is sort of a primer on Canadian politics and civics and culture, what it's like to live here. We find that that's often one of the most sort of wrenching moments. You know, you get off the plane in Canada, and of course, our the questioner just asked, submitted the question, been in Canada for a while, but sometimes you get here and you're in school a week later, and it's a different culture, and just things are done differently around you, and the politics are different. And so this course is available free of charge, and it actually comes with a little micro credential when you finish it. So if you're interested in that, just contact us, and we will let those students that we recommend taking this course know about it as well. So currently, we don't actually have any open questions. Okay. So I'd yeah. Can I ask a few more questions? Yes, you may. The same individual. Please please go ahead. I'll be watching the chat, and you can also use the Q&A feature. And so yeah, I'll just wait until the next question pops up on the screen. You might be wondering what the weather's like in Halifax, and generally speaking, you know, this time of year it's cool, and today it's you know, a few degrees below 0 Celsius. Gets maybe at the very hottest in the summer when you probably won't be here, sort of 30 degrees kind of thing. Typically, though, year round, we can, most of the year, it's somewhere between 10 and 20, 25 degrees, depending on the season. Obviously, warmer in the summertime, cooler in the winter. So it's a very pleasant climate here in Halifax. But I would advise you to bring a good raincoat, because we do have our famous phenomenon of sideways rain. So I'm just waiting for, and I don't know whether Jatine, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, to type in a couple more questions into the chat or the Q&A. And so we'll just keep an eye out for that. And actually, yeah, okay.
I have a question for Indra,
Yeah, okay, please
because
go
Indra
ahead.
seems to have really enjoyed her first 5 months. What has been your favorite thing in the journalism program so far, in all the work you've done in these past 4 months, 5 months? You have a favorite moment related to the journalism program?
Oh, you should know that if I enjoyed it this much, that's such a hard question. I feel like I've been thrown a curveball. Honestly, I really enjoyed the news workshop. So after we do the boot camp, we choose I think was it Tara or Trina who already talked about Trina, right? Already talked about this. We do 3 workshops. One of them is required, and then the other 2 we get to choose. But the required one was one I wanted to take anyway. It was writing articles, and so, you know, as Trina said, they get published out into the world. You get to work as though you're working in a real newsroom. You get to pitch your own stories, so you can write about what you're interested in, if that's sports, arts, news, whatever. And yes, I did have a couple times where my stories were at the top of Google search results, and I would reach out to friends and be like, I don't know if this is my computer, so I need you to look it up on your search engine just in case it's skewed, and it wasn't. So yeah, that was really fun, the news workshop. And I'm doing the podcasting one right now and also really enjoying that.
All right, thanks very much, Indris. And we have actually now a couple of questions here. So these sort of additional questions. So first of all, again, a Tara question: what are the tuition fees for the program?
Mhm. Well, I don't have those tuition fees right off the bat. Thanks, Yolana. I was going to say Yolana will put it in the chat. But as a permanent resident, you would pay domestic tuition fees. So that's nice. And if you go to this link that Yolana posted, it will give you some more information. Our Charlene and our student accounts office is amazing. So if there are any questions related to tuition fees, you can always reach out to Charlene at accounts@ukings.ca as well if you have questions related to that.
All right, and people always have money questions, because front and center for most people applying to any program. The other question is, though I am from business and project management with 5 years of work experience, now I want to shift my career to journalism, especially in the field of war and terror journalism. So will this course or program help me? So I could start there, maybe hand things off to Trina. We don't have a specific war or terror journalism class, but a lot of the skills and techniques and sort of intellectual practice of journalism are really the same across a wide variety of different sort of reporting domains. So the basics are the basics, and the BJ really is about having you master the basic skills. So you'll learn to write in a journalistic style, which means communicating directly with audiences in straightforward language, not sort of getting caught up in jargon, which is a harder thing to do than you might imagine. As well, capturing really great audio and video, which if you're going to be reporting on war and terror, obviously video and images and sound are going to be hugely important in that. And so we're going to teach you how to do that really, really well. We'll also give you opportunities to learn to do long form and investigative journalism. We're bringing back our investigative workshop next year. And there's an opportunity to dig into serious issues in depth. So that's my take on it. Trina, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, just I think to echo this, I mean, we can look around the world right now and see how important journalism is and the real need for it, close to home, but also just globally, and sort of the pressures on journalism right now. But the 1 year program, like Fred said, it really is about giving you that base. Like whether you're doing honestly, sports journalism or international reporting, sort of those technical skills, that nice, really clear, concise, tight writing, being able to communicate and present information really quickly. I mean, journalists, what do we do, right? We take a lot of dense information and we try to make sense of it. We figure out what's important for people to know, and then we package that somehow, right? So we are writing a story or we're, doing the audio or video. And so whatever the information is, that can change, but the content can change, but the skills of sort of that analyzing and communicating, writing and research are really fundamental. And then they just apply to whatever. And they apply to journalism, but that's the great thing because they also apply to a lot of other sort of journalism adjacent careers or just careers in general. Good communication skills, being able to talk to people and interview, writing skills and research are all sort of basic, really fundamental skills for a lot of jobs. So it gives you a really good base, kind of no matter where you go after.
Yeah, and one of the things that you might want to know is that our graduates end up everywhere, and as Trina says, in many fields. But in terms of journalism, they everything from television producers to international journalists. We have a top journalist with the New York Times is a King's graduate. We have students who go on to do political reporting, local reporting. And work in places and news outlets all over the world. One of our more prominent recent graduates works for Middle East Eye, covering events across the Middle East. And if you're interested, you can certainly send along an email to us, for example, to my email, which I think will be sent to you afterwards, or Trina's, and we can put you in touch with graduates who are working in fields similar to the ones that you might be interested in. So that's always something we can do. I've certainly occasionally even linked up a graduate with a prospective student, and they have a good chat and find out a little bit more about what the program's like when the profs aren't there telling you. You know, so I really think the student perspective is probably the most genuine one you're going to get. We know we're trying to sell you, of course, a little bit here, but also it really is a great experience to be at King's in journalism. So at this time, we don't really have any more questions either in the Q&A or in the chat. Does anybody else on the call want to add it? Oh, hang on now. Yes, absolutely. The question, can I reach out by email or request a call? Yes, as Indra mentioned, we chatted on the phone for a good hour one day last year, last spring, I guess. And yeah, and we'll organize a Zoom call with you or a Teams call and chat with you. We can answer questions by emails, faculty can. It's kind of the thing about Kings, you know, some universities, I'm sure, you know, they're kind of big and a little bit intimidating and unapproachable, but here you can even like you go up to the second floor just below us, and the president will be walking by, you know, and be hello, good morning, you know, and or the vice president, and it's a small and intimate community, and so we're always open to talking to people because that's what we like to do best. So I'm just looking to see if there's any other questions before perhaps we wrap up the call, because it's 10 minutes to the hour, so we've used a large part of the time. Is there anything that anybody else would like to add before we perhaps wrap up this call? And I'll keep watching to see if there's any questions. Trina, Tara, Indra, any other thoughts before we say goodnight?
I guess I would just echo, I'm having a great time, and if you are interested in journalism, I think you will too.
Yeah, Yolanda can certainly share my email as well if people have any questions for me that that you want to throw my way. Yeah, nice to chat and share this information, and I look forward, hopefully, to seeing you guys next year.
Great. Thank you, guys. And so the one thing I would just add here is, look, this happens to me almost every time. I used to be, I go to news conferences, and it was always some of the most frustrating experience. You'd be walking back to the office and you're like, darn it, that was the question I should have asked, and I didn't think of asking it in the heat of the moment. And so that's going to happen to you too. So if you have any questions that we didn't get to answer, you can probably the sort of catch-all email is admissions@ukings.ca. Admissions@ukings.ca. You can send a question there meant for one of us or to Tara. So thanks for logging in tonight, and you'll get a follow-up email tomorrow with all the relevant email addresses and useful links and video from the session from Yolana. And again, admissions@ukings.ca is the place to send an email to us. And I think at this point, I'm going to say thank you very much to all of our participants who've joined us tonight. Indra, Trina, Tara, Yolana, kind of in the background. And I'm going to thank everybody as well out there in Zoom land for joining us tonight. It's been a real pleasure. And I think we'll say good night.